Hey friends and family, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and today's video will be a bit on the somber side, even though I'm using a beautiful, happy, upbeat deck. And you might say, well, why would you use a beautiful, happy, upbeat deck for a topic that's sad or distressing or even has overtones of violence? And my answer is it's because of the subject matter. A few weeks ago, one of my subscribers had been watching one of my true crime videos and mentioned that there was a case, I think in 2012, in Evansdale, Iowa. I'll read you everything I know. I've copied stuff from various sources. So everything I noted of importance, I jotted down on this piece of paper, so I'm just going to read it. There were two little girls, Elizabeth and Lyric, who were ages 8 and 10, and they were cousins. They were abducted while riding their bicycles on July 13, 2012. Their bodies were found 5 to 7 months later. The time varies according to article. Some say 5, some say 6, some say 7. And the bodies were found by hunters. And here's the thing, it was 25 miles away from where the bicycles were found in the park. I will put an email address in the link in the description area below, because they're still investigating this case. It's unfortunately a cold case, but they say it's not cold because they work on it. They work on it, a couple days a week, still after 10 years. And I will put the, if you have a tip, I'll put that email down here. If you're really good at remembering things, I'll read it out to you. It's called Our Missing Iowa Girls at dps.state.ia.us. As I mentioned, their bodies were found 25 miles from where their bicycles were found, and at a place called Seven Bridges Park. Now, I just read about a few statistics on these kinds of cases. Stranger abductions of children are more rare than familiar cases and only make up about 1% of missing children cases. So out of 10 children who go missing, 9 times out of 10, it's somebody they are familiar with. And only 1% would be a total stranger abduction, which is an interesting point, which I will try to come back to if I can remember while I'm doing the reading. A few days after the bodies, the children disappeared, not after their bodies were found, but a few days after the children disappeared, 2 people came forward saying they saw an older model white SUV, like a Ford Bronco or a Chevy Suburban, that was parked near where the girls were abducted from. Then about a few months later, one other third witness came forward to say he or she saw the same thing. All 3 witnesses saw this vehicle between 11:30 in the morning and 12:30 in the afternoon on July 13, 2012. The conclusion is that the perp had to have been someone familiar with that area and might be someone hiding in plain sight, which is chilling. Maybe the girls knew him. And there were some references with this article saying that there's similarities between this case and the Delphi case, which I know from being familiar with following, true crime channels. Just because it's on a true crime channel doesn't mean I'm going to watch it. Only certain cases really appeal to me. And so I had avoided the Delphi case, and I still have. I think because it upsets me too much to hear about children. And in fact, I really was considering not approaching this topic either, because they're children. But, the universe brought this case to me, and I don't know what I could do. But if nothing else, maybe this reading can help bring peace you know, to any of the family and the close people in their lives. So that's another reason why I want to use the Vacchetta Tarot, because it's such a beautiful deck. And, you know, I think they named a park after those girls, Angel Park, right? And, you know, if angels played with tarot cards, I think they'd use this deck because it's just so exceptionally beautiful. And you know, the point is that I want to see if I can ask the universe to somehow allow me to connect to the essence of what happened to these children, and whatever the universe will let me see or will allow to be communicated through me is what I'm hoping to accomplish. We can't know everything, and the universe, if there's something that would be detrimental to finding out who did this to the children, I'm asking not to be told that. All right, well, as when I go into my meditative place, it will be nothing that will ultimately hurt the case, and nothing that will ultimately hurt anyone affected, but only to have answers that would bring peace or help law enforcement in the direction that the cards might suggest, if it's that helpful or not. I don't know. I don't know what will be told. It seems like as much as anybody can know is already known. It's just the mystery, I guess, is who did it. And I don't know if the cards aren't going to spell out a person's name, right? So, and they haven't said the method of death, you know. However, after a body's been left and remains outside for 7 months or 5 or 6 months or whatever it was, there might not be a whole lot left, to work with, right? So they might not even know what the cause of death was, although if it was a very obvious method, then I guess they're holding back on it. But I'm not asking that question, because if that would hinder, if it falls under the category of anything that will hinder the case, not to be communicated in this reading. All right, so let me go into my place and express those things that I just explained to you, and hopefully we'll get some insight. Alrighty, so I've done my meditative work, and I'm just shuffling a few times to show the integrity of this reading and that it hasn't been, the cards aren't staged or whatever. And I am doing my signature spread. Ooh, they're sticking together a little bit. Okay. I don't concern myself with reversals, so if that card is reversed, probably the whole deck is. Okay, the first card is the Tower. Three of Coins. Could be similar to, we can look at it as Three of Coins and having a meaning for three and having a meaning for coins, or you could look at the picture too, I mean, when people read TDM, they look at the patterns and they can almost like see the patterns as illustrations, so it's legitimate to read patterns on a card, or images on the card. So if you have, an understanding of the Three of Coins as being growth or whatever, especially in the context of a question, this might suggest an overgrowth or something like that, or a setting, or kind of thing. And then the picture, too, might bear it out, the world. Well, just from these 3 cards, I get a sense that the worst that can happen has happened. And then, some type of joy or wonderful thing, was the outcome of if you want to read this row in that way. So it could be a type of paradise that they're in, or some type of wonderful place. I mean, I just described it as paradise. I don't have any understanding of any religions that use that word, but just to give an idea of just, how to go from perhaps a worst case scenario to a most joyous one. And so I think the immediate message is to let us know that they, wherever they are, the young ladies are okay. They're not suffering. And I think that maybe is, the right out of the gate kind of understanding right away, of what's trying to be expressed here. And that the 3, of coins in the center, could be suggestive of, the life, maybe to their parents, or maybe to just, life goes on, you wait, you start something, which they have, they've really been determined in trying to find these, what happened to these little girls, the perpetrator of who hurt these girls, took their lives, and so kind of maybe it kind of like just stay on that course, and you'll find you'll achieve what you're hoping to achieve, and also in the meanwhile, the girls have peace. Okay, we have 10 of batons. Let me just lay them out now. The Empress. And the Knight of Batons. Okay, we have the Page of Batons. We have a few batons. 5 cups. And 9 coin. So I am going to go off camera to do the calculations of the quintessential cards. Now, for those of you who are just catching this for the first time, this is my signature spread. If you ever use it, it's a great spread. If you ever use it publicly, please, I just ask that you give me credit for it, because I did develop it. What it is, because a couple of people have been asking me, because maybe they're not familiar with how many times I do the spread and explain it, because I kind of get lazy and I will do this spread and just do it and not really explain it to people. Now, at the core, there are 9 core cards, and that's not so unusual. A lot of people do 3 rows of 3, so that's not uncommon. I can't take credit for that. What I do, in addition to that, which I took this idea from the occultists themselves, perhaps Oswald Wirth or Atea, I'm not sure, one of them, where we get a quintessential card, which is in essence adding the numeric value of the cards in a row or in a spread or whatever formation is being used. When you get that sum, if it's higher than 22, you just subtract 22 from it until you get a number between 0 and 22, because that would allow for to account for the fool, no matter what number he was. I don't count court cards values because they're not numeric value. They don't have numeric value on the card. If you want to see it as numeric value, then the page would be 11, right? But I just don't. And so then you would add them up and do that for each of the 3 rows. And then with the 3 cards that you have here, you add that up and then deduct 22 until you get a final card. And that would be the quint card for the spread. So it's 4 additional cards, 1 for each row, and then 1 for the essence or something important to take note of for the whole spread. So I'll go figure that out and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went off and I put in the quintessential cards for each row and then the final. And for the top row, we have the moon card. The center row is the death card. The third row is temperance. And the final outcome is the magician. Now, for those of you who have seen me do this spread, bear with me because I do want to help other people learn it because I've been asked questions about it. So one of the things that I do almost out of the gate is, although I have all these cards here, I look at these cards because these cards will cut me to the chase, okay? So for the final outcome card, we have the magician. And right away, without looking at any of the other cards, I just know that the children were conned. You know, for me, the number 1 card is a card of deception, of trickery, of con, right? If you want to know why, you can go check out my playlist where I discuss, the numeric equivalent of each of the higher order cards. But at any rate, the way I interpret this guy and the way I recognize this guy is as a con. He's somebody who's transient, moves on when people figure him out, or he's no longer welcome. Now, I don't see the Fool card to suggest that he's wandering, but I do see the Death card in kind of reminiscent of a wanderer, right? And it falls in line with this row. So it's, I get the sense that the children were conned, they were tricked, perhaps, could it have been by somebody they know, or was a little bit familiar to them? I don't see that in these 3 cards. And maybe we'll see it here, but it doesn't seem to be the essence of, of what I'm being told, So I had to take a minute to figure this out. And it's a challenge. I get the sense, though, that the children did not know the person because we have the moon card, which is a card of mystery, and we can't ignore that the death card appears, right? So it's clearly a reference to what happened, right? And the temperance card, I don't know, kind of suggests to me that although they didn't know him or her, they didn't know the person, maybe they spun a pretty good story for the girls to think maybe it was reasonable, or maybe one of the girls thought she was familiar, which would suggest how, this individual might have gotten 2 girls off a bicycle, unless there was a weapon. We do see someone in line with the death row, right? The Knight of Batons, which is one with a weapon, essentially. Now it's a baton in this deck, but it is classically understood as a weapon. And then we have another, the 10 of batons in the same row. And then we have the death, and then in line with the con. So I just clues about that individual, that perhaps there was a weapon involved, either as a threat, to get the girls to do what they wanted, or that a weapon was used in, taking their lives. Now, if there's a woman in charge, which is kind of strange, in the center, the front and center, it pivots on a woman. So that's very curious. This seems to me the person who probably carried it out, but he's looking, you see the gaze, plus the woman, this powerful female figure falls right front and center of this spread. So that's kind of interesting to me. I don't know if a woman might have been involved, or there's a woman who can help. Well, maybe there's a woman who knows everything, and maybe she can come forward, or maybe there's just somebody, who's a female, who's a woman, who just put the pieces together, maybe, and kind of suspects, but she's quiet for whatever reason. It could be something like that, or it could be that there was a woman involved. And then, of course, we have a clear reference to at least one of the children, and it could be representing, both of the girls. Or it could be describing that this is something that this kind of person does. It was a crime, for children. I don't know if the girls were sexually assaulted or not. I don't think I read that. And it's possible they don't know. So maybe, but it does seem that the children is a theme, right? And in these two, I kind of get the sense that it's not the meaning of the cards as much as it might be the numbers. 5 and 9. Can 5 and 9 figure into this somehow? So this is my interpretation of what the what the cards are sharing, or what the universe is sharing through the cards. This is. These are my thoughts. It's, I don't know that we're any closer to knowing who did this. But I hope that in some small way, maybe it can help bring peace. Until next time, friends, peace and stay well.